Hey, sorry for the interruption, but we wanted to let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by Spotify for Podcasters. Really cool app. Josiah and I use it for every single show that we bring to you every week. You can edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating as soon as you log into the platform. You can easily distribute your podcasts to Spotify and everywhere else the podcasts are heard, just like we do every single week. You can also create video podcasts on Spotify, which is really cool. And of course, you can earn money like I'm doing right now by including ads and even podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. There's no catch. We really love it. We use it every single week. So we encourage you to go download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. All right, let's get back to the show.
Radical! Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join the gnarly Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the totally tubular tools, advice, and strategies you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now on to this week's Totally Tubular show.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Thank you guys for being patient with us last week as we were trying to get our schedules to sync up. But Travis, who joins me once again, if you're a new listener, is my co-host Travis Ross. I'm Josiah Cifuentes. I guess we always take for granted there might not be new people, but we hope there are new people. So we want to introduce ourselves. So if you're a longtime listener, you know who we are. If you're new, Josiah is my co-host. Travis, you are coming to us today from the comfort of your own home.
Yes, of course. We've tried to sync up many times. I was planning on actually just hanging out at the office until you basically have to now that you have your own apartment, and several episodes ago you talked about how you guys got your new place and all that, and you have a lot longer drive than you did previously, and so just getting back to your place takes a little longer. So originally I thought I was going to be at the office, but as it turned out, I had to last minute drop a FedEx package off at FedEx. And I was like, well, I'm halfway home. I'm just going to keep going here. Yeah, totally. So I just came home. Why not? Well, I mean, that's the thing about Q4. You just never know kind of what each day.
It's unpredictable.
Yeah, it's unpredictable.
I mean, that lends itself to the fact that last week we were talking about, we were trying to sync up on a time, and I was like, well, I think we might have to dig into the archives as much as we hate doing that. Like for you, the listener, Travis and I, our desire and our goal is to bring new content every single week for you guys to listen to. But there's just some times where, owning production facilities and production shops in what is the busiest shopping season of the year will prove to be challenging. So hopefully that won't happen again as we proceed into the thick of Q4. But if it does, we thank you guys for your patience in advance. So that means that you have to give us to them. Give them to us. Word jumbles. Okay, so I feel like it's been a long time since we've had this segment, but I think we should go to this week's weekly dad joke.
Time for the weekly dad joke.
So Travis, doing some research, did you know that French fries are not actually made in France?
Well, I kind of assumed that. I mean, I get them on every street corner, but
right.
I mean,
it's not like
but it's French fries,
origin.
Right?
Yes, like the country of origin.
I see. Country of origin. Yeah, I didn't realize that French fries were not actually country of origin in France, I suppose.
Yes. Well, no, they're actually made in Greece. And that's this week's weekly dad joke. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Ooh. And don't eat a lot of those grease fries because that can lead to like heart problems. And
full disclosure, though. Full disclosure, I did actually know that French fries weren't made in France. I was going along with that for, he
may play the fool joke at times, but he there's lots of playing along here, especially when it comes to the weekly dad joke. There's lots of playing dumb in many instances. So, man, before we get into the point of interest, kind of forgot to on the front end before the weekly dad joke, just ask you how things are going for you. We talked about the craziness of Q4, but how are you doing in the midst of that craziness?
Yeah. If you're a longtime listener, maybe you remember a few weeks ago, we had a DTG guide that lasted literally 3 days. So
that's right. Yeah.
We actually had gone through a whole nother round of, hiring and like interviews and everything, had a few interviews. And actually we have a new DTG girl this time. She's starting tomorrow. So really excited to, kind of get somebody in there. And I mean, obviously you can never know exactly what you've got until, you actually have that person in and they're working out and everything's going well. And, they stick around for a while, but I have a good feeling about this particular person after the interview. I have a good feeling about her. I really hope that good feeling translates to working through the entire rest of the year. Because otherwise it's going to be really hard. In other news, we're also kind of like, we're hiring for temp positions and really gearing up for that. So we have another couple interviews for those positions this year. And we're just really, really, really focused on Q4. Had a bunch of people because of the fact that a lot of our local clients know that we're, e-commerce, centric. We've told them, hey, don't give us any orders after November 15th. And what that's done is like created a ton of orders right now. And the last few days, we've just gotten just an onslaught of orders and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm glad, obviously I'm happy for it, but at the same time, I'm like, oh man, now we have to order it. And by the time we actually order the stuff and get it all in and actually start printing it, as you probably have seen, Josiah, this weekend, we probably 2 to 3x'd from last weekend, so we're already seeing, kind of the holiday shopper increase. And it's just gotten me nervous. Are you guys seeing the same kind of things over there?
Yeah. No, it is very much a lot of the same. We're currently, I just talked to a person that we're going to hire on to work kind of, full time, 8 to 5 during the day. Because, as and the listener might know, one of our primary DTG guys, he works earlier in the day. So by the time 2:00 hits, his day is over because he is a single dad and there's just lots of stuff he's got going on. And so we're bringing in some folks, a person to work, during the day, 8 to 5, have someone there. We just met him today. Seems like a good guy. And hopefully, again, it's like, there is that interim period where you want to make sure that it's a good fit for you and for them. But when it's Q4, it's like, I don't want to hear about it until January 1. I don't care if you hate it here. I just need you to tough it out. Okay.
Totally.
So yeah. And I mean, Jason today, his stack of Amazon and Walmart and Wayfair and all that kind of like stuff that isn't necessarily our clients. You know what I mean? His pile was exponentially larger this Monday than it was last Monday. So you're starting to see, the ball is rolling and it's only going to gain more momentum and getting temp help in the shipping department and sublimation. So it's just kind of gearing up so that you don't burn the resources that are your workers. You don't burn them out in the next couple of weeks before December even hits where, they're just like, they're ready to quit. And then it's just not a good scenario.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's the same for us. It's just kind of like, let's get through, till that Black Friday really hits. And then that Cyber Monday, it's just, forgive my French, it's balls to the wall, man. I mean, for the rest of the freaking year. And the way it falls this year, Christmas is actually on Friday, or I'm sorry, Christmas Eve is on Saturday. Friday.
Right.
And Christmas is on Saturday. And so we're going to be working. I guarantee we will have our temps working until the 22nd or 23rd, just getting out those last minute things. We are turning on some 2-day with Amazon and trying to, utilize some of that last minute kind of get the products to the customers. And then beyond that, we're going to have stuff that comes in on the, the 21st that everyone knows is not going to get there on Christmas, but they still
going to ask. Yeah, exactly.
They're still going to try to get it. And so
we're going to send you that message of, I really need this by Christmas. Yeah. But I really needed you to plan better, but here we are.
Yeah.
It's kind of I feel like leading up the weeks leading up to Christmas, I think we might have just an episode that's kind of like an apparel rants designated. Like we're just going to talk about, you know what I mean? And then the listeners will just, have some entertainment value hearing us kind of relay our troubles during the Q4 season. But I don't know, it's always fun. You know what I mean? This is the time that kind of sets the pace for what your next year is going to look like. It always works out that way.
Yeah, I mean, the revenue in November and December is, a lot of times 25, 30, 40, even potentially 50% of your entire year's revenue comes right now. And so, it makes sense that you'd focus this much on it. And, this year I feel like, last year we literally moved into our facility a week ago.
That's right.
And so I'm so thankful that we're not in that position again, but we've learned a lot over the year. We've created a lot of systems that were not in place last year, because we've just learned. And I feel like we're a lot more ready. We actually, I don't know if it's been 2 weeks now. So we actually got our conveyor dryer installed. We're using it now.
That's right.
And it's freaking amazing. It's so great. It makes our DTG process so much faster. We bought a couple other presses for our sublimation department. And so there's like a lot of things that we've done that is hopefully going to improve our throughput, for Q4. And, we'll see. I mean, time will tell, but I can already tell, like, on my little Amazon app, if you sell on Amazon, you know what I'm talking about. It's like a phone app. People call it it's like a slot machine because you like literally just pull it down every time, and there's, I sold another item or, and it feels like a slot machine anyway. But on that item, it has like last month, how many percentages are you up or down from last month, or how many percentages are you up or down from last year? And we're like up 70% from last year. Just Amazon. So all that to say, I think our clients are selling more, we're selling more. And you got a picture of our dryer.
Yeah.
It's a beast, man.
So it's a monster, man. It looks awesome. For those of you wondering where you can find pictures of that, it's printondemandcast.com/Facebook. That's where you can find. Travis kind of threw it in the Facebook group so people could kind of see and kind of take part in the festivities of it arriving. So that's awesome, man. That's super, super exciting to see. I know you've been wanting a dryer for a long time, so it's cool to see that finally come to fruition. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So for those listening, we're going to get into the bulk of the show here, but maybe you're thinking, well, I kind of, I want to open e-commerce store. I want to know what that looks like. Well, this episode is for you. We're going to take the time to kind of, nuts to bolts, front to finish, what we would say are the steps to take to doing so. And before we get into that, we want to go to a segment that we like to call the point of interest. You know what time it is? PODcast coming at you. The point of interest. The part of the show with Travis and Josiah tell you something you should know. The point of interest. So grab your paper and pen and jot down some notes. Let the learning begin. The point of interest. So Travis, we were kind of writing out the show notes for this episode, and we came across this new platform called LaunchCart, launchcart.com. It's a new e-commerce platform for print on demand. It integrates directly with Printful, which is kind of cool. So there's not any kind of like trying to figure out the back end, logistics to get Printful to sync with your store or whatever. It looks like they're just almost probably a byproduct or a subsidiary of Printful. I guess Printful has something to do with this platform coming into existence, I would guess.
Or at least they have a really great, dev team that can, integrate the API into LaunchCart to where they can just, kind of, it's very seamless because we, pulling back the curtain a little bit, we actually signed up for it before, or you did,
Right.
and we were like doing a little screen share and talking about, what it looked like. And we created a product, and it was basically almost exactly the same as if you were doing it on Printful, except when you were done, you had a store with a product in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and it's crazy, being in the industry now, all I had to see was a glancing image of the back end when you're listing a product in their example on their website. And I was like, they're using Printful. I didn't even see it on the freaking, like I didn't see it. It's listed there, but in plain sight, but all I had to do was look at that back end and be like, that's a Printful back end. So it's just crazy the things you become accustomed to and realizing the stuff that you just offhand know, like what a next level 3600 is and 3900 and all of those things that years ago had no relevance to you. But so they integrate directly with Printful. It has the capability to promote mid live stream. So if you're streaming on Facebook or streaming on YouTube and trying to show off a product, you can actually have the link to that product with the price, the picture show up in the middle of your live stream, which I think is super advantageous, especially on YouTube, because I know like Spring has a certain integration with YouTube, and YouTube is working with certain providers to allow their high-end streamers to have access to the merch drawer there in their video that kind of pops up and people can just click directly through. So I think having that capability, regardless of your 1,000 subscribers or something crazy like that, you have to reach that kind of number in order to allow that to be activated. But to have that just out of the box on this platform, I think is a pretty cool integration that is pretty, I guess cutting edge would be a term I would use, because I don't know a lot of platforms that offer that kind of integration out of the box.
Yeah, that is a really cool feature. And I know you're all into like kind of what you can do with it and all of that. I'm into the price. Yeah. And what I think is super cool is that this thing is free, totally 100% free if you do it yourself. So what that means is you can integrate it with all these things, and you can but you have to like create the products. You have to create the, the description. You have to kind of lay it all out, make it all pretty and all of that stuff, but it's free. But there also is, if you're not, maybe technologically inclined, or you just don't have the time for it, there is a DFY, done for you option that has a cost. And so, full disclosure, we want you to check this out. And if you want to do the free thing, that's amazing, because that's probably what I would do. But totally. if you want to do the DFY, done for you option, we do have an affiliate link. It's printondemandcast.com/launchcart. No space. That's just launchcart. And you can kind of see the plans and whatever. And they basically launch you into, and they have like some like graphics design help and some of that stuff that can kind of get you into your own store. And they have like different plans that show you that have like how for like maybe 15 products, I think is the first plan that they'll launch for you. But you can continue to launch after that. It's a one-time fee. You can continue to launch as many as you want, but maybe it'll kind of wet your whistle for e-commerce. But so you can check that out. But if you've already kind of got this whole thing situated, you understand how to create a listing, and you're good with that, and you can kind of figure out how you want to like lay out the mock-ups and all that stuff. It's a great alternative to like a Shopify, where Shopify, you got to pay $29.99. Now, to be fair, they have 1 million plugins, and they have so many features that it's hard to keep up with. And there's a lot of benefit to being on Shopify if you do kind of grow and build. But for somebody that's just like testing a market, I can't imagine like a better opportunity or better way to just, jump in there and have a free store and just test it out. Can you?
No, I think that's, I can't think of a more ideal situation, especially one that it basically comes with a provider built in for you. So it's going to go to Printful. So it takes a lot of that, like, okay, what do I want to plug into Spring, or how does that work, or how do I integrate, and you can see the Shopify and like figuring the whole thing out.
It also does all
that service.
It also does all of your, actually the payment stuff, so you don't have to like go sign up with an online merchant. It's just right in there. So it's all built in. It's very cool.
Yep. And if you are looking at it like, you want to make that investment and have a DFY store done for you, this is some of the stuff that they offer as far as service wise, that's kind of built into the cost of the plan, right? So you get your own unique store URL, up to 40 branded products, search engine optimized. They'll make a terms of service for you. They'll integrate with Printful. They'll do a custom homepage design, they'll have logo design, which I think is kind of cool. You have on certain plans, you can have a designated graphics guy there for you. So when you're looking for something, maybe you don't go to a VA, but if you're going to pay for the service, they'll do the logo design for you, theme customization, social links, set up your merchant account. I mean, they do offer quite a bit of value for that DFY plan. Like Travis, when you and I were first looking at it, we didn't realize that there was a difference. We contemplated, like, are we going to even tell them about this if it costs that much just to open a store? No. Right. Oh, but doing it on your own is free $99. Yeah. But if you want to take someone up on the offer to do that work for you, the front end work, you'll pay for their time and their expertise. And I mean, they're the guys that built the platform. So it could be a worthwhile investment to get it set up and rolling for you. But to your point, Travis, I think it's a pretty fantastic way to launch something, to maybe test the waters, to where it's like, I have this t-shirt design, I have this design for this, whatever. And if it goes off like gangbusters, well, maybe then you can actually transition to a Shopify and it's proven, and you can kind of, do it that way, or bring production in-house. If this mug is blowing up and I'm going to produce this myself, because they do take a 3% transaction fee, like for every item that sells. So they do take 3%. Right. If you don't pay for, I don't know what
so it's not totally free,
is, but
it's not totally free. Basically, they do take 3% on top of,
They're not just they're not being that benevolent. They got to make money somehow. So that makes sense. But you look at, compared to Amazon, that's a steal, and it's a little bit more than Etsy. So it's probably a good little in between. And like, again, you have a POD provider.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but is the 3% beyond the 3% merchant fee, or is the 3% just like a 3% merchant fee and it's just straight up 3%? I don't know that we dug deep enough.
I don't
to
know
find
that we
out.
dug. Yeah, it would make sense if it was just a 3% merchant fee to process whatever payment is happening, right? I don't know if they have listing fees or if it's 3% per item. So we'd have to do some more digging. Or if you're interested in checking out what they have to offer, and you're looking for something that is literally kind of an in-the-box solution, pretty simple and intuitive and user-friendly, might be worth checking out. Again, that's launchcart.com. And if you like it so much, you like the idea that you want to have a DFY store done for you, again, printondemandcast.com/launchcart would be where you would go to avail yourself of those services and have them kind of knock it out. And they have example stores there too, which look really cool. I mean, their example stores look great that you and I checked out. So just thought it was interesting. Just another platform that's coming online. I'm sure there'll be a myriad of others as things progress and print on demand becomes more popular and more sought after. But go check it out, launchcart.com. So we want to keep talking to you guys about building a store. So in order to do that in full, we have to transition from this moment to this week's main event.
On a cold, dreary night in September of 2020, Travis Ross and Josiah Cifuentes created the Print on Demand cast. This is the main event.
So, Travis, let's say someone listening is like, you know what? I've been inspired. I thought I just came for the dad jokes, but then they hit me with a point of interest that has stirred me, and now they're going to tell me how I could build an online store successfully. I'm inspired. I've been moved to the point of action, which is, of course, our hope each and every week. But let's say tomorrow someone's going to go create a print-on-demand e-commerce store. What are the steps? What would you say is the number one to get started?
Well, I think, we've talked about this on a previous episode. In fact, we've had whole episodes on it, but I think you need to start with your why. And I know people want to fast forward through this part because it really is, they want to get into the nitty gritty. They want to know the details about how to do this stuff. But I think, it's important to start with your why, to kind of understand, and it literally may be for you a 2-second thing. You already know your why, and you just can move on to the next step. But if not, it's very important to kind of get through that initial question. Are you wanting to build a large business, something that's going to be very large and, employ people and, and grow and grow and grow and grow? Is it just something that, is a hobby for you, and it's just something, hey, this is fun. It'd be cool if I made some money, but I don't have to make money. This is something I'm an artist or whatever. And I just want to have a place to tell my friends to come buy my stuff. It's just a hobby. Or is it an actual side income that you're like, hey, I need to make $500 to pay for my, my car payment, or I need to make $2,000 a month so I can pay for my house payment, or whatever that thing is. Or do I, am I starting this and I have a goal, in 1 year, I want to tell my boss to shove it or whatever,
Which can be strong motivation.
Yes, it can be. I want to get out of the rat race. But I need to start. So it's going to build. So all of these different, motivations are going to influence the rest of, the process that you're going through. And we can't speak to every single one, because literally every single one will look different as we move forward. Right, Josiah?
Yep. Yeah. And then there's no wrong answer either, right? It's your why. You don't have to feel like you can't do this unless your why is to, tell your boss to take his job and shove it, or, make these boots are made for walking reference, which I think is probably the pinnacle way to quit a job. No, again, if it's literally just side income, if you're just kind of messing around with it and you want to see what comes of it, there's no wrong answer. The important thing is to identify it so it can inform the rest of the steps that you make and what you're looking and how you approach building this store. So I would say that, once you identify your why, you're going to identify what it is that you want to sell. Right. So, and I would also, and we didn't really put this in the show notes necessarily, but maybe even a part of choosing what you want to sell is also maybe choosing a niche. We talk a lot about niches in the show. We talked about tiches. We coined a new phrase, for God's sake, which is t-shirt niches. So, but maybe you identify like Helen Kinson. I don't want to say
it's Kinson.
Helen Kinson. Okay. And I was going to say Kinnison. Is she related to Sam? Could be awesome. But Helen Kinson was on the show, and she's just now getting into, marathon running. And I just saw on Facebook, I think yesterday, she competed and finished the marathon. So
good job, Helen.
That's awesome. Way to finish that out and kind of realize what the fruit of what you've been training for. So that's awesome. But she was talking to us about how she's kind of getting into this whole running thing and meeting people that are in that community. And there's tons of opportunities. So, identify maybe, the easiest thing to do is, what are you passionate about? That probably might be the easiest way to pick a niche, because what would hit in that community. For me, if I were to do it, I would probably do professional wrestling, because I understand the vernacular, I understand the subculture, I understand what's funny to them, what's not. And it would be easy to turn the switch on a store that is targeted towards that niche. So decide what niche you want to move into, because that will also probably inform some of what you sell, right? If I'm in a professional wrestling niche, I'm certainly not going to sell home decor. I mean, unless it's a steel chair, in which case it would probably sell like hotcakes.
Hey, there's a golden nugget for you guys. Go enter the wrestling, wrestling niche, and then sell some chairs with print on demand.
Steel chairs. Yep, and just vinyl transfer on the steel. I don't know. I'd probably
send us 10%.
Yeah, it'd probably be crazy enough to work, because if there's anything about the professional wrestling community, they love merch. So, identify what you want to sell. Is it apparel, t-shirts, hoodies, leggings, tank tops, crop tops? Is it drinkware? Mugs, tumblers, water bottles, flasks, or whatever. Travis, what are some other kind of categories of items that someone could think to sell?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, like home decor, pillow covers, signs. You guys do a lot of signs over there, coasters, just kind of things that you would have in your home decor, and then accessories, just, kind of straight up accessories. We did like, bottle openers at a lot of the markets, the farmers markets that we did this year.
I saw those. Those are awesome.
Yeah, they were great. Phone cases, pop sockets, just all of those other things that you don't necessarily think of when you think of print on demand, but people are using and buying every single day.
In fact, you mentioned bottle openers. I think, and there's another peek behind the curtain for those listening, but I think some Poker Night Federation bottle openers would be pretty dope.
That would be really dope.
The game, right? I think that'd be sweet. So
done.
I can send you the files needed for that, because that would be sweet.
Okay.
Or you can be, maybe you're like, I want it all. I want it all, and I want it now. And you want to sell everything. And
nice,
you want to be
reference.
Thank you. And I don't know why I almost was trying to do like a Kramer. Like, I want it all. And you want to be a one-stop shop, which is fine. I mean, you can offer a smattering of everything, right? Like maybe you want some t-shirts and accessories, and maximizing those assets, which we've talked about a lot, like putting that design on as many things as you can, going wide, maybe not very deep, and then just kind of throwing it all out there. But our advice would be choose one of those categories. And why would that be? I mean, you kind of went right in the notes. You're like, well, I think we would advise to start with one, and you kind of went into why that is. So for those listening, man, why would you advise start with one?
Yeah, I think the reason, or we're kind of going in a sequential order here. So when you choose what you want to sell, the next, you may need to go to one place for an apparel, and one place for drinkware, and one place for home decor, and one place for accessories. And that's just too much, honestly, for a beginner. For somebody who's really, it could be too much for an advanced seller, and you may want to niche down to one or two of these different categories. And that really is the reason. It's like, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring you down the funnel. So you want to find out what you want to sell before you decide like where you're going to find that stuff or where you're going to sell it or any of that. You need to figure out what you want to sell, because that's going to inform the next question. Right. And so our advice for the beginner is, like Josiah said, start with one, because what's going to happen is when you start with one, you're going to start building systems for that one. And as you build systems, you're going to realize, okay, when I want to bring on drinkware, there's going to be similar systems, but there's also going to be other things that I need to tweak to make it work for drinkware, because maybe now I have two different suppliers and I didn't have those before. Maybe it's the same, but still you're going to learn, basically, I mean, honestly, I think your supplier is going to probably really influence your choice of product that you want to sell. And, I mean, it just is what it is, because you are going to be able to, you don't have to have someone kind of filtering that out at the order level, which, we'll get into a little bit of, like hiring VAs and things like that a little later, but, and you can get into that. A lot of people do. You can even do that through automation. But I think at the basic level, if you're just starting out, choose something that the supplier that you're wanting to use can do all of to start. Don't go with multiple suppliers. So that's really kind of the reason that we say our advice is to start with one. Because you're just going to learn from that. You're going to learn a whole bunch, and then you're going to be able to use the things that you learn to branch that out into other suppliers and other products. Yeah, that makes total sense. I think, you're talking about finding multiple suppliers for multiple items being stressful for a beginner, and I was you took the words out of my mouth. I think it'd be stressful for anyone, really. Like if you're for me, if you're exactly. If you're selling 7 different items and there's 7 different suppliers, and figuring out how to get that information to each supplier, and every supplier guaranteed is going to be, like you said, just slightly different from the rest. And there's not usually this like universal solution to do all of that. So
There's lots of logistic structural stuff that you're going to have to figure out. And so do yourself a favor and figure it out for the one thing.
Right.
And then understand. And
go
then
from there.
Selling that one thing, you might find out that, hey, this design sells really well on a t-shirt. So maybe you have more confidence when you launch it on drinkware or you launch it, elsewhere, knowing that the design itself is popular. So lots of benefits there as well. So the next step would be, after you identify your why, after you choose what you're going to sell, and then, find your supplier, you got to figure out where that store is going to be. What platform do you want to sell it on? And Travis, there's lots of options out there for someone to pick. There's, Shopify, Squarespace. We just talked about Launchcart, Amazon, Etsy, Walmart to an extent as well. Of course, is a platform to put your stuff out there. And then, there's so many other platforms. I feel like there's a lot of options. WordPress was one that you had mentioned as well. Do you see a benefit to one of these platforms or the other over the other? And is there something to keep in mind when selecting, starting out like that?
Yeah, I think, you have the benefit of, when you're talking about an Amazon or an Etsy, I think, there's a reason that a lot of our listeners jump on Etsy is because there's a low barrier to entry. It's pretty easy to create a store, to throw some stuff up there. It's they've really maximized on the user interface. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's pretty easy to launch a product and they've done a really great job. Amazon, maybe it's a little bit harder. It's not, honestly, it's not actually harder. It's just that if you want a pro account, which I recommend because of the benefits you get, it's $40 a month. So that kind of knocks out some beginners, at least some beginners, because they think, well, I don't want to spend $40 a month to test something. So I'm going to test it on Etsy. Sure. I think a lot of people miss out because of that $40 a month. But that's probably for a different podcast. Sure. But my point is that these particular platforms, the Amazons, the Etsys, the Walmarts, which by the way, Walmart does not have any, you don't have to have there's no subscription fee. So it's, there's no fee for that. However, you do have to have another site that you're actually selling on. They like ask for that when they're interviewing you. But my point is that they bring traffic for you. All of those sites, Amazon, Etsy, Walmart, they bring traffic for you. And we even talked about earlier, we are specifically talking about starting a store where you are the seller of record. This is not, a Merch by Amazon or a Redbubble royalty based, product, which that's totally cool too. You can do an awesome Redbubble store and never touch the product, and it's all royalty based, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of other platforms for that. We are specifically talking about stores where you are the seller of record, because you could do a lot more marketing with those, specifically when you're talking about the non, trafficked places like Shopify. Sure. Like a Square, where you're responsible for bringing the traffic, like a Squarespace, like a Launchcart, like, a WordPress site. Maybe there's somebody out there that's, they've been building web, it's a funny story. I used to do WordPress sites, and I would, way back before some of the Google algorithms changed, and you could have a top line domain. What did they call them? Exact match domains. So I literally had a website called, I think, snowshovels.com, and where I would put Amazon AdSense ads. So someone would come to my snow shovel because they were looking for a snow shovel. They would see an ad and they would click it, and I would get paid, a couple pennies or whatever. And I tried to rank in Google for snowshovel.com. So I have a little bit of experience doing WordPress sites. And so maybe some other people have experience with that. So you can plug in, you can use your WooCommerce inside of WordPress. You can, if you have an ability to do that, maybe it's obviously cheaper than Shopify, which is like $29.99 to start. WordPress is free. You just have to have your domain, and then you can kind of build all that out. So all of these things, the caveat is that you have to bring the traffic yourself, and so you have to weigh that. Do you have the ability to build something? Do you have the ability to market it? Do you have the ability to kind of combine those things? Maybe you have a whole bunch of social media followers already, or maybe you have a plan to bring social media into your marketing, process, and you're gonna build a huge channel on marathon runners, or a huge Facebook page or whatever. And you're just going to, build that. And then at some point you're going to kind of pivot a little bit and you're going to start showing them marathon gear, whatever that is for you or whatever. But that would be a lot better. I would, if that was my goal and I knew how to build Facebook and build, kind of Instagram and all that stuff. Yeah. I would definitely go with a Shopify or a Squarespace or a launch cart, because I don't have to pay the 15% that Amazon, charges me. So it immediately increases your profit margins. So those are some of the things that you need to consider when you're talking about, where you're actually going to sell these print-on-demand products.
Right. Yep. And I think also, when you're talking about the potential of doing a site where you're a seller of record, and it does, and we'll get into marketing, a little later as well. But I think you also have to understand that you have to have the patience for that audience to find you, right? Because on the Amazon and the Etsy's and the Walmarts, there's organic traffic. So that, and I've even had the same notion of like, well, I'm just going to open a Squarespace site and then boom, you know what I mean? Like, I know they're out there, but, and even you can throw money at advertising and doing all of that and have a really good plan, but it's still going to take some time for your target audience to find your store, just understand, kind of manage the expectations of what it's going to look like, that first 6 months to a year, when you're just really trying to get your name out there and building that and understanding that it's not going to be quite the same as if you were to throw something on an Amazon Prime listing and there's already millions of people on Amazon and they happen to find your stuff and it just pops off. You know what I mean? So, so that's something to keep in mind too, to kind of help kind of manage those expectations. So, after you find the platform, of course, you have to, unless you want to sell blanks, you need to have something that you're going to print on the shirts or the signs or the mugs, unless you're just going to be some kind of wholesaler. But so design is another important element, of course. So there's a couple options, right? You can create designs yourself. If you're skilled in Photoshop or Illustrator, you can leverage your abilities there to do that. If you need something that's a little bit more user-friendly and kind of helps guide you along in creating those designs and kind of gives you some templates or some stuff to maybe help create something, there's Canva and there's Vexels. Now we talked to, was it Euro? Euro, yes, from Vexels. He was on our show promoting Vexels and kind of what they do. So we also have an affiliate with them, printondemandcast.com/Vexels. If you sign up for their service, they're awesome. They've got a lot. They have tons of designs, and it's pretty robust selection.
I'm just curious, have you used some of their stuff? Because I have since we had him on. So, full disclosure, Vexels gave us an account to promote them. That was like one of the benefits or whatever. And I've gone on there several times and have actually downloaded some stuff, and sent to my designers and said, hey, I like this. Can you change it? Blah, 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 blah. But
and the cool thing is
cool stuff.
You get the Photoshop file, like you get the actual editable files in order for your designers or yourself to edit them and change them as you would wish. So Vexels is really awesome. It's a great resource. And I encourage you to, go back and listen to that episode with Euro. We'll try and find what episode that was.
I can look that up while you talk.
So Travis is going to look up what episode that is, so we can point you in that direction so you kind of learn more about it. But it was a great episode. And go check out Vexels for sure. So the other option to the designs is outsourcing them. So, you have the Upwork kind of finding freelance designers to create stuff for you if you have a specific design you're looking for. We use virtual assistants, which we've also talked about on the show, which are incredibly invaluable to your company because they do great work. The site that we use, if you're wanting to find a VA, is onlinejobs.ph. That's the one I've used frequently in the past, and they've got a lot of good criteria in place to kind of verify and vet the people that are applying for a position, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like an Upwork for the Philippines. But Travis and I both use Ron. Shout out to Ron. I don't know if he'll ever hear this, but Ron is a very, very skilled, and he's been with, I think, both of us for quite some time. Doing work
2-3 years now, maybe more.
And he's great. I mean, it's just if he ever left, I would be like, well, okay, I'll find another design. But he's just reliable, and his content is pretty consistent. So, did you find that episode for Vexels?
I did. It's episode 45, and it's a kind of a deep dive into Vexels. You can check that out. One other thing I was going to say about outsourcing, and VAs, I love onlinejobs.ph. You do have to subscribe to it.
Correct.
But the cool, you like pay $50 or $60 or whatever it is, and then you hire your person and you immediately cancel.
Cancel it. Yeah. There's no long-term commitment. It's literally month from week to week. If you get your guy in a day, you just, what I mean? Like,
you just cancel it. But the cool thing about that particular site compared to like an Upwork or some of the others is that you are direct contact with that VA, and you don't pay an extra fee. I think on Upwork you pay an extra 10 to 20%
because you have to keep it in. Typically, they ask you to keep it inside of Upwork, like the payment, like just front to finish. Keep it all inside of that space. Yeah,
which is great, and it's very convenient. What we have done, and I don't know if you guys have done this because you asked me about it when we were talking about our VA episode, but what we have done is we have hired VAs and then we bring them into Hubstaff, which is a timekeeping manager that the VA will actually click into, turn on when they're working, and it keeps track of their time. And that's basically what Upwork is. It's basically that. And I'm paying 20%, but I would rather give that to the VA and pay the $15 a month for the hub staff. You know what I mean? And so it's a little bit, in my opinion, it's a little bit better for the VA and for me to kind of go that way and get outside of those, like Upwork or some of those other places that have that they have they have cool systems and it works. And if it works for you, great. But you just pay a little more, and that really is all it is.
And I mean, and I think part of it, for at least for us too, is knowing that virtual assistant positions are very sought after in the Philippines, and it's good pay for them. And so you could literally be giving someone the ability to work from home and not have to go search jobs elsewhere, or be home with family or whatever, and still make a good living. So again, we did a whole episode about VAs that you can kind of go back and listen to, figure out. If that's a good fit for you. I know that they're invaluable, and they do more than graphic design. My God, there's so many different things. Copywriting, I mean, just we have ones that do listing for us. I mean, they're awesome. And so please go, check that out and just see if that's something that might benefit you as you're trying to build this business, this e-commerce store that you're working on.
That's episode 17, utilizing virtual assistants.
Oh, we're probably 20 years old.
I know we will almost definitely do another episode on that. But anyway, moving on.
We should. We're about due for that. So so we're at designs, right? So you decide, are you going to make it yourself? You're going to outsource it. So Travis, what would be the next step in the process after you have what you want to sell? It's t-shirts, whatever, hoodies, apparel, and you've picked your platform, and now you have the designs in hand. What's the next step? What do you do?
Yeah, I think the next step that you're actually going to do is like create those listings on whatever platform you've decided. And so what do you need for a great listing? Well, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, you need to be SEO optimized. And while I totally agree with that, like they need to be SEO optimized, particularly if you're driving your own traffic, that'll help because, being higher in Google, obviously. But I think the number one thing, like if I'm on Amazon or Etsy or wherever I'm at, if like somebody actually comes to my page, the number one thing that is going to sell that product is not the SEO optimization of the text. It is mock-ups, 100%. How do those mock-ups look? Do they look professional? Do they look like the product? Do they look, dare I say, hip and cool.
Right.
But that's really the thing.
That's a huge part. I mean, I know for my wife who runs an Amazon an Etsy store, there are multiple times where she'll send me an email and go, "Can you buy these mock-ups?" And I'm just buying Etsy mock-ups because they're hip, they're cool, they're aesthetically pleasing, and they got a good filter. Because the thing is, going back to the SEO thing, you can optimize, your stuff for whatever search engine, but if someone clicks through and that mock-up looks like dog water, they will not buy that product. Like,
amen.
They're not going to want to do it. So now, you've pumped all this money and attention into SEO, and you have a janky mock-up. Well, that SEO is not going to pay off, and you might be confused because you've done it to the letter and you've read all the books and courses and Skillshare classes and whatever. But I'm telling you, if that mock-up is not aesthetically pleasing, if it doesn't catch the attention, if it doesn't drive home what you're trying to communicate to your customer as to why they should buy that thing, then you're not going to sell anything. I mean, it's just like
hang up your cleats now.
Yeah. it seems like, semantics and splitting hairs, but literally the different, you could have a mock-up of a hoodie that's flat against a white background, and it's just not appealing, as opposed to having a picture of someone wearing that hoodie, doing this or whatever, communicating, oh, it's comfortable, it's soft, whatever. And that's going to then drive the customer to be like, oh, that looks amazing, whatever. So mock-ups are huge, and you can't overemphasize that, even though it seems like a simple thing. So just like with graphic design, there's lots of different ways you can go about this. You can create them yourself. You can go into like a Photoshop, or Creative Market is another one. Printful.
Creative Market is basically a market of places you can buy like all of these really cool mock-ups.
Sure.
You were just talking about, bring them into Photoshop, and a lot of them will have what's called a smart object, which a smart object allows you to, particularly if you're selling like on drinkware, because like if you're selling on a t-shirt, most of the time, a lot of the mock-ups are just straight, they're flat. And so you could just kind of lay, you have the mock-up and then you put the text over it, and it's going to look pretty good. Now, obviously, sometimes some of those mock-ups will have some wrinkles, or maybe the model in the mock-up is turned to the side, or you're doing drinkware and the actual, the canvas that the art is curved because it's a drinkware. It's like a curved mug or a tumbler or whatever. And so what they do is they create these smart objects in Photoshop, and what it does is actually bends that image around to where it looks very realistic. And so Creative Market is an excellent, and I know there's a lot more. In fact, Vexels has a lot of these, options with these smart objects. So printondemandcast.com/Vexels. Want to just kick that in again. But Creative Market has some that you can actually buy, in addition. So maybe you're just going to sell coffee mugs, and they'll have like a package that's just coffee mugs, or maybe you're just going to sell, those skinny tumblers or what, you know what I'm saying? So there's some options there, but you would also need Photoshop to bring those in and actually like bring your designs into that mock-up and then make it kind of bend, and then you export that as a PNG or a JPEG or whatever. And that's kind of how you would go about creating those mock-ups yourself. And I think that there is there's something to be said for kind of doing this, creating them yourself, and additionally subscribing to a service, which is kind of our next point, which would be like a Vexels or Placeit.net is another excellent place. A lot of people have subscriptions to Placeit.net, so you may not be quite as original as maybe you think you are. But there are thousands of original like mock-ups on Placeit.net.
Not only that, I would say that the thing I like about Placeit is also the ability to have videos. So there's a potential to there's some platforms are allowing you to do videos on your listing, and there's lots of options for that. So it's possible. Place it has it's incredible the stuff that they can do with the video. Smart objects, I don't know what they do necessarily, but I mean, you can have, if you're in a skater niche, there's videos of a guy skateboarding, going into the bowl, coming out, running right up to the camera, wearing your stuff. You know what I mean? Like
one of the newest things that Etsy has brought along is like the ability to do video ads. And so every single product we have on Etsy right now has a video ad because we've used Placeit to give us a video ad. And I don't know. I mean, they're really
clean. Yeah,
they're great. I don't know if it's really, increasing our our sales or reach. I don't know, but they say it does. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And,
frankly, call them a liar, I mean, you just gotta just take them at their word. They already have your money.
Yeah, exactly. And frankly, like I said, all of our Etsy specific all of our Etsy listings are being done by a virtual assistant anyway. So, they're taking it costs a lot less for someone in the Philippines to do that for me than it would to hire somebody in the US to do that, or even for myself as the business owner. We never value our own time, but the fact is our time is actually the most valuable of anyone in the country.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Or company rather. Yeah.
Yeah. As our country too. I mean, we're all very centric to, what I mean? My time's more important. No. So we're getting, we're approaching, close to an hour on the subject. So I think for the marketing, we can just kind of go through the options that are out there, understanding, before we get into this, understand that all marketing is doing is testing, testing what works, what doesn't work. So understand you're going to spend some money to see what works the best, so on and so forth. So there's social media ads, of course, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest are all social media platforms that you can leverage. I know TikTok is huge for business right now. Like it's a whole different suite, TikTok for business, and you can just do advertising. And so if you pay every time I open the TikTok app, against my better discretion, I open that app, and every time it pops open, it's an ad every single time. Doesn't matter what for, or whatever it is. And I have to either hit skip or if it catches my attention, like, oh, that's kind of cool, whatever it is. So that's huge. TikTok is, of course, a ever growing platform. Instagram and Facebook are kind of the ones that everyone knows about. Pinterest, I feel like, is a very unutilized, kind of underrated advertising
for print on demand platform, for sure.
Print on demand, for sure.
Yeah. I would also say that as different social medias are coming out, it seems as though if you can get onto a social media platform advertising campaign early, you're going to do well. Facebook recently changed their algorithm to where you have a lot less ability. The Facebook pixel kind of went away with privacy stuff, and you have a lot less ability to capitalize on Facebook ads. Had you got onto them really early, you would have freaking killed it. And so I think that's kind of where TikTok is. I just wanted to throw that out there. Like if there's another, new kid on the block that's really kind of taking the scene and they launch some type of advertising campaign and you can be one of the first ones on there, you can really, really, really do well. And I think TikTok's kind of in that really kind of prepubescent area. Right. They haven't really fully kind of come into adulthood and decided what they are. I think you can make a lot of money there. If you're so inclined and kind of an early adopter and willing to take some chances on some of that stuff, I think there's some opportunity there.
Yeah, I think early adopters in general, if you would have gotten in on Amazon in the beginning of FBA, you could have cleaned up, you know what I mean? Because it was before there was the structure that's there. Etsy that's part of the reason you reference why it's so popular. It is still kind of at the early adopter phase, maybe approaching kind of the bubble of what that time frame is. I don't know if there's what the statute of limit, what that looks like time wise before it's no longer an early adopting thing. But I would say TikTok for sure is also in that vein.
Etsy has kind of changed their algorithm to where I feel like they grew up and figured it out. And if you were there a year ago or 2 years ago, you were making a lot more money than you are now. And I mean, I'm I know that for a fact because I've seen it in my business.
Sure. No, 100%. The other thing you can do, channel specific ads, of course, with Amazon, if you're on an Amazon or a Walmart, they do have channel specific ads, sponsored ads that you can have so that your stuff, hits on the first
Etsy,
page, or
Pinterest,
Etsy.
all of those guys.
Yep. Same thing. Another type of marketing, influencer marketing, affiliate marketing, reaching out to people with a following, and asking them to promote your stuff, whether that's in exchange for, a percentage or an affiliate code or a promo code or whatever that looks like. It's another easy way. I shouldn't say easy. It's another way to get attention to, especially if you're doing like a Shopify, Squarespace, kind of that whole, not getting organic traffic,
drive your own
trying
traffic.
to rope in an influencer to help promote your product is probably a way to expedite that process of getting eyes to your product. But even at that, there's still going to be a good amount of patience that is required, because not all, we've talked about this before, and this is probably another podcast, but not all influencers are created equal. So you can't just land one and think that you're, and just sit back and wait for your ship to come in, because there might be a canoe. And that's not the thing you want. It's not the water vessel of your choice, obviously. But yeah, influencer marketing, affiliate marketing, and of course, local advertising, Facebook Marketplace. Because as you mentioned before we press record, people are in a space now where they are looking to buy where they're at. Yeah, anything. My wife gets so much stuff. The desk that I'm recording on, Facebook Marketplace. The chair that I'm sitting in, Facebook Marketplace. Like, it's just, she gets everything from there. And so there's always people there. People are on Facebook all the time. And so Marketplace is a good place for print on demand stuff, or even to let people know that your business is there. Custom shirts, and throwing that lead out there so people can find you on that platform.
Right. Yeah. We have, a cool story. We did all these Facebook, or not Facebook, but all these farmers markets this summer. And we, if you've listened to the podcast, you heard us talking about those. And, to do a farmer's market, obviously you have to print all your stuff beforehand. It's not really print on demand. It's like print the stuff and bring it, but they were the things that we did were very like city and local kind of types of products. And, and if you want to, you can go back and you can kind of search the archives of the printondemandcast.com/Facebook. You can see some of the things we actually were selling, because I posted some pictures of. But the point of the story is that probably 2 weeks ago, I basically put a Facebook Marketplace ad out and said, "Hey, I have all of these things. If you were at the farmers market in Erie, or Louisville, or these different places, you may have seen these things, and I have extras, and so I'd like to sell them." And so I literally put this out. I actually charged more than I did at the actual farmers markets, and sold out of a whole bunch of stuff that I had left over from those. I said, "Hey, you want a Christmas gift, local Christmas gift, support local," kind of that whole thing. It's huge. And Facebook Marketplace, you can actually use shipping from it. So if you do have something that's not local, you want to try the shipping thing, you can start doing that. There's a lot of things that Facebook is now doing with their Facebook Marketplace. But don't sleep on it. If you have product and you want to just kind of get it out the door and maybe even just test it in your local area, it's a great opportunity to do that with Facebook Marketplace.
Yep. 100%. So avail yourself of that. Again, leveraging Facebook Marketplace for that kind of stuff might be one of those other kind of early adopter things. Like, I don't see a lot of people making themselves or promoting their business necessarily through Facebook Marketplace. It's usually kind of like a Craigslist, but different kind of thing.
So, who knows what it's going to turn into, though? That's the whole idea.
Sure.
Get in on it, figure it out. As they tweak, they'll send you emails because you were on it.
Exactly.
Iterate from there.
Exactly. So, and of course, what we were talking about in marketing, be willing to reevaluate, but not just with marketing. It's good, I think, year over year to kind of look back, assess what's working, what's not working overall for your store. Maybe this item's not selling. Maybe you need to pivot and move into a different, start selling drinkware or move away from apparel or whatever that looks like. But business and print on demand is an ever growing, ever evolving thing. So don't necessarily get locked into one thing and not be willing to kind of reevaluate and see if it's working or not working, if that makes sense. So it's always good to kind of keep that option open. Travis, anything else about this before we kind of move into the outro portion and send this thing home?
No, I agree with you that the whole part, like every single piece that we've talked about is all about testing.
Yep.
I just snorted. Wasn't that fun?
You did. I heard that.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, that's good.
That was nice. So, I mean, it's all about testing. It's about you test your niche, you test your product, you test your suppliers by getting samples, by the way.
Yeah.
And, you test your marketing, obviously. I mean, all of these things are just testing. And so the more you can test, the more you have an understanding of what actually works and what doesn't work. And you can kind of pivot to the things that actually work. And that's all I have to say about that.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you guys so much for listening. We're glad to be able to bring you a fresh, new, brand new, out of the box, still in the packaging episode of the Print on Demand Cast, except for that it's not, because technically pressing play is opening the packaging. So thank you for tuning in once again. As we've said a million times, and we will continue to do so, please avail yourself of the Facebook group, Facebook, printondemandcast.com/Facebook. Join the conversation in the family. We try to post in there, and I'm sure as things get crazier in Q4, we'll have plenty of things and stories to share.
Or fewer things because
there's no time. And maybe after Q4 and the craziness, we could do like a live episode and just kind of recap the madness that was Q4 for an entire episode. Thank you guys so much. Please, again, printondemandcast.com/Facebook. And as always, wherever there are podcasts, the PODcast is there for your listening pleasure. Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts. They don't call it iTunes anymore, which I think is dumb. I still call it iTunes. Apple Podcasts. Anywhere. But if you're happening to listen on the Apple Podcast, please leave us a rating and a review. 5 stars is preferable. 4 stars is doable. 1 star is unacceptable. Just know that going into the endeavor of leaving us a review. But seriously, we'd love to get feedback and hear what you guys are loving about the show, what you would love us to cover, anything like that. And it helps the algorithm, right? It helps us get in front of the right people that this show is intended to get to. So if social media is not your thing, totally understand. You can email us as well, info@printondemandcast.com, and let us know your questions, concerns, general wonderings, dad joke suggestions. We take anything there, really. So give us an email. We'd love to hear from you as well. But until next time, we hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week, and good luck going into Q4. Those of you that are selling actively, wish you nothing but the best and 10x, to the moon. Just all the success in the world. So for Travis, I'm Josiah, and we'll see you next time right here on the Print on Demand Cast.
See ya.
Hey, babe. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular Show. If you got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.